Welcome back to the channel, Sorta Healthy viewers. If you're new here at Sorta Healthy, we talk about all things that are important within the personal training world. And boy, oh boy, do I have an important topic for us to discuss today. Today we'll be discussing how you should be talking about nutrition with your personal training clients. This is a taboo topic within the personal training industry because what you can do nutrition-wise as a personal trainer varies quite a bit based on where you live. And that's something we'll be discussing very soon. Like I mentioned before though, we're not only going to be going over what you can do legally nutrition-wise with your clients. We're also going to be going over exactly what you should be doing when it comes to nutrition coaching. At the end of the day, you should be doing some kind of nutritional work with every single one of your clients. Before we get into all of that, all I ask is that you guys do like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. This is a huge help to the channel, which is a free resource for fitness professionals. Thank you very much for the support, everybody. So let's talk about the legal stuff first. What can you do legally, nutrition-wise, as a personal trainer? We are now looking at a map of what you can legally do nutrition-wise as a trainer in the United States. In green states, as a personal trainer, you can do quite a lot. Basically, just don't write full meal plans or do nutrition with anyone who has underlying conditions. Everyone else you can work with. Yellow is pretty much the same. Orange and red states, yeah, you guys can't do as much legally to help your clients with nutrition. Now, if you're in a different country, make sure you know what you can legally do nutrition-wise with your clients because it does vary country to country. Just like how every client's exercise program is going to look a little bit different, every client's nutrition program should also vary based on them and their goals. Speaking of things that vary, your clients are also going to vary in their ability to stick to your nutritional plan. Don't expect any of your clients to follow your plan 100% because you're going to be disappointed, which could make your clients kind of frustrated, and obviously that's just not good for anybody. The first thing you should do is set up the nutrition conversation while you're still in that consultation process or the initial meeting with your client. And this brings me to my first strategy, which is start nutrition on day one. Back to the consultation. Ask your client what their current nutrition looks like. Really, at this point, they'd be your prospect. But again, we need to know what their current nutrition situation looks like. Ask them to describe it from breakfast to dinner, including all snacks, even the snacks that they'd rather not tell you about. Ask them how many alcoholic drinks they're having per week and what kind. Ask them if they're consuming any other sugary beverages like soda or fruit juice. You're often going to get two types of clients. Ones who eat the right things, but too much. And then you're also going to get some clients who just eat terribly and would rather not talk about it. For the client who's eating terribly and doesn't want to talk about it, you might actually have to pry a little bit. Ask things like, are you eating takeout? If so, how often and what are you ordering? What are your snacks of choice? Do you drink alcohol? If so, what kind? Get to know as much as you can about their current habits before setting up any true game plan for them. So now that we're past that initial consultation phase where we're getting as much background information as we can, we move on to stage number 2, which is to food journal and work on small victories. Now for your weight loss clients, and if you're a typical personal trainer, most of your clients are going to be weight loss clients. This is super important. For other clients with different goals other than weight loss, it's still super useful, but maybe not quite as essential. Tell your client that while it might be painful at times, having a food journal for at least a few weeks is going to give you really useful information that's going to help you create a customized program for them. Of course, this does enable you to best help them to achieve their goals. Recommend apps like MyFitnessPal or MyMacros+. They're pretty easy to use and they do a lot of the work for your client. If that doesn't work for them, there's also apps that allow you to photo log your food. Basically, every time they eat a meal or a snack, they just take a picture of what they ate. I'll throw a link in the video description for people who are interested in learning more about an app like that. Over the course of your career, you're bound to get a few clients who are kind of allergic to using any form of technology. And maybe for those people, old school pencil and paper, just recording their food that way, that might be the best option. Make sure to reiterate to your client that food journaling does not have to be a forever thing, unless they want it to be. Let them know that we'll be doing it for a few weeks, maybe a little bit longer, to fine-tune their nutrition program. Now, if you're in a yellow or green state or a country that has fairly lax nutrition laws, you can modify a client's macros and calorie counts. If MyFitnessPal tells my client to eat 1,500 calories a day, but I think they can lose an adequate amount of weight weekly eating 1,600 calories a day, I'm going to put them at 1,600 calories a day because I want them to be able to eat as much food as possible and still lose weight. In addition to calorie counts, I also look at things like protein and fiber intake. I want both of these two things to be relatively high for various reasons. I will typically let carbs and fats fall where they fall unless I have a reason to not do that. Some clients will do really well with food journaling. They'll view it almost like a game where they're trying to constantly come up with little ways to improve their score, or in this case, their diet. However, there are many that will reject food journaling altogether, or just do it so terribly, whatever they're doing will hardly be useful to you in the first place. For all of your clients, whether they do well or not with food journaling, there are other strategies that we're going to want to focus on too. I advise my clients to drink at least 8 ounces of water with every meal. This helps them to feel a little bit more full, and it makes them eat a little bit slower as well. Again, this does help to prevent overeating. I also try to get my clients to eat some dense, low-calorie foods. Berries, popcorn, fish, legumes, and a whole bunch of other things are foods that are pretty filling but don't break the bank when it comes to calories. With any client, I will make sure to only work on 1 or 2 of these strategies at any given time. This is to avoid sending my client into information overload. So maybe I'll try to get my client to food journal and drink 8 to 16 ounces of water at every meal, or maybe I'll try to get my client to eat low-calorie dense foods and to try and get them to eat slower at every meal too. Like I said before, only pick 1 or 2 things to work on at any given time with your client. Food journaling is the single thing that is likely to get your clients the results that they're after when it comes to weight loss. Like I said before, some of your clients simply won't do it though. For clients like this, I will use Precision Nutrition's portion control guide, which I am now showing you on the screen. Some clients find it really useful, and I'll put a link for this guide in the video description for anybody who's interested. For pretty much all clients who are after weight loss, small victories over time add up and matter a lot. Whether it's losing their first 5 pounds or successfully drinking 16 ounces of water at every meal for 3 weeks. These achievements will boost their confidence and their results over time. So don't underestimate how important these little milestones can be in the long run. Step 3 is for us to monitor our clients' food journaling and other dietary improvement strategies. With some clients, this is easy, and with other clients, this is hard. One thing that I do 100% of the time is check in with my client on nutrition every time that I see them for a personal training session. I'll usually ask them something like, how's everything been going food-wise? How has your protein intake been lately? Have you been feeling relatively full between meals? What's for dinner tonight? Any of these questions within a session should effectively shift some of our focus to nutrition. I'm also going to check my client's food journal a few times a week. I can check that food journal in person, or you can monitor your client's MyFitnessPal by going to Friends, then going to this little plus sign in the top right corner. From there, choose the email username option and type their username into the search bar right here. I try to look at my client's MyFitnessPals a few times a week. If I feel like my client is really struggling with food journaling, I'm going to set up a time separate from a session for us to sit down and chat about it in person. Oftentimes, these meetings are very quick and easy. Any extra strategies that myself and my client are working on together, those should also be discussed within personal training sessions. And just like with food journaling, if they're really struggling with one of those smaller strategies, it's okay to set up a separate meeting to discuss that as well. And all of these things should be ongoing as long as you're working with your client. Another thing that I recommend doing on a very regular basis with your client are weigh-ins. This is assuming that your client is coming to you for weight loss. If they have a different goal, they might not be quite as important. I do think most clients do best with weekly weigh-ins. This tends to not be incredibly overwhelming, but provides your client with enough consistency and accountability to get them even better results. You might have clients that don't want to do weekly weigh-ins. Maybe they want to weigh in every single time they have a session with you. Maybe they want to weigh in every other week. Discuss it with your client and figure out what works best for them. My next step when doing nutrition with a client is to modify the game plan if they're not getting the results that we're after. Assuming that you're in a green or yellow state or a country that has pretty lax nutrition laws, you can do quite a bit of modification to their nutrition plans. If you live in an orange or red state, or a country with strict nutrition laws, or you are working with a client with an underlying medical condition such as type 2 diabetes, in those instances you can't legally modify a client's dietary plan. If you're in one of those situations, let MyFitnessPal do dietary recommendations for you. Also rely more on informational print-offs created by dietitians. I myself live in a green state, so I will very often change a client's daily caloric target. Oftentimes I'll increase a client's protein, sometimes I'll increase their carbs or their fats. I pretty much never put my clients in any trendy diets such as keto. Typically I also stay away from things like intermittent fasting. There's nothing really wrong with either of these two things, but I know that the vast majority of my clients will not reliably be able to stick to either one of them. If I get a client who wants to try one of these two things or anything else like them, I'll support them in that experience and give them as much guidance as I can along the way. When it comes to modifying my clients' game plans, the things that I find myself modifying the most often our daily caloric targets. Maybe they're not losing weight fast enough, so we have to reduce calories a little bit more. Or maybe they're too hungry on a daily basis, so we have to bump calories up. I'll also oftentimes try to bump people's protein intakes up because protein is satiating and it actually costs more calories to utilize protein as a fuel source compared to carbohydrates and fats. If there's nothing that we need to modify and our client is getting awesome results, then we move on to our final strategy. Our final strategy is continued support. Keep doing everything that I mentioned leading up to this point. Go over nutrition with this client every time that you see them. Specifically go over their food journal with them and tell them little improvements that they can make. Keep working on some of those other smaller strategies that we talked about before, or implement some other smaller strategies of your own. There are tons of those smaller strategies that can work wonders for your client. Keep doing weigh-ins with your client and make sure to hold them accountable always. Just as you want your clients to stay consistent with their nutrition, you need to stay consistent with your coaching. So make sure you stay on them, make sure you stay positive, and make sure you just don't ever give up on them. I feel like that's a good time to end this video. We're ending on a very positive note today. Do you guys have any questions on anything that we talked about today? What kinds of different nutrition strategies do you guys use with your personal training clients? Even after watching this video, are you still scared to do nutrition with your personal training clients? Let me know how you feel down in the comments below, guys. If you haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so because it does help the channel to grow, which allows me to make more free content for all of you. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.